If you're like me, you know that even though it's mid-September, the Halloween season is very much here. And for me, that means several things, but probably more than anything else, it means it's time to watch a lot of horror movies. And what I was wanting to do tonight was pick a bunch of Blu-rays off my shelf, horror movies that I've never seen, and just start making a list for myself of what movies I want to make sure that I watch this particular Halloween season. And I thought, you know what, that might be kind of a fun video. So I've done it. I picked a ton of Blu-rays off my shelf, all horror movies, all movies that I've never seen. These are the movies that I want to watch this season, and I'm just going to show them to you. And then after I do that, I also want to show you some books that I'm planning to watch this season. Because yes, I actually do read as well sometimes, every once in a while. I like to, read words on pages. And regular viewers of my channel will know this is an unusual video for me. It's pretty rare that I talk about movies I've never seen, but that's all I'm going to do in this video, talk about movies I have never seen. And I'll tell you what I know about the movies, but keep in mind if I say anything wrong about these movies, it's because I have never seen them. So now that we've got that out of the way, so let's just go ahead and jump right into this thing. First thing I've got right here are a few things from Severin, particular film company that puts out a lot of cult horror movies. And this is their All the Haunts Be Ours folk horror box set. This thing is amazing. And I got this, 2 years, I think 2 years ago now is when they put this out, and was really happy to get it. And I think I've watched about half of the movies or so, but I decided this is the season that I want to finish this thing off because I've been really enjoying this, liking almost every liking almost every movie that I've seen in this set. Just haven't quite finished it off yet. A few that I'm really wanting to get to are, let's get to Witch Hammer I've never seen, and some people were recommending that to me in the comments of my recent top 15 witch movies video, so I'll definitely have to get to that thing. I've never seen either of these, The Dreaming and Kadechia. Very interesting. Well, let me go ahead and skip to ones I know I want to see because I know something about them, such as Clear Cut. That is I think kind of an eco-horror film about a Native American community, maybe in Canada, something like that. I've heard it's amazing. A Field in England, that's a Ben Wheatley film. And there's a documentary on here all about folk horror. It's like 3-4 hours. It's amazing. I watched it. And I believe I heard the director of that documentary say her favorite folk horror film of all time is A Field in England. So I definitely need to get to that thing. So anyway, I want to watch a bunch of these, and I might make a video once I finish all of these off on this particular folk horror box set. That might be fun. So next up, we've got a Severin title that I've had for a long time and never watched, The Beast Must Die. Apparently, this is kind of a murder mystery film, but instead of finding the murderer, you have to find the werewolf. So it's a group of people all in a house, and one of them's a werewolf, and they have to figure out which one it is. I know it has Peter Cushing in it. Yeah, Peter Cushing, Calvin Lockhart, whoever that is. Yeah, definitely excited to get to this. I think it's an Amicus horror movie. I think it is. Yeah, anyway, but it's 70s British horror with Peter Cushing, and it's a werewolf. Definitely got to check that out. Last Severin title I've got here is Night of the Demon. This is a Bigfoot horror film, I think from the early 1980s. And I've heard it's a really savage, brutal, trashy exploitation film, basically. And for a Bigfoot movie, that sounds pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I just think a rural set in the woods Bigfoot movie for the October season, that sounds like a good time. So I'm definitely going to have to check this out. Now, some Scream Factory Blu-rays that I haven't watched yet. Quite a few of these. Island of Terror. This is actually a Terrence Fisher film who directed like a ton of the best Hammer horror films. So I love him as a director. And this also has Peter Cushing. And from what I've heard about this, it has something to do with on an island, they find some kind of green blob that's some kind of monster that eats people. I think that's what I've heard about it. And probably a good time. Sounds pretty fun. I just love a British full color horror film from the 60s or 70s, 1966 with Peter Cushing. I mean, that's prime Cushing time right there. Definitely excited to see that. And then we've got The House That Screamed, which I think is also a British horror film, and this is from 1970. I bought this a long time ago, and I don't have a great memory of why. I've heard it was It might have been an influence on Dario Argento's Suspiria. It's about young women at a boarding school and they start getting picked off by some kind of mysterious killer. I think I've heard some good things about this one, but this is one of those movies that I bought and just immediately put on my shelf and kind of forgot about for a long time. So this needs to be the season that I actually check this movie out. Let me know if you've seen this. I feel like this is one, I don't know, it seems like I need some motivation to watch it. So drop a comment down below if you've seen it and what you think about it. By the way, also drop a comment down below of what movies you are planning to watch this particular Halloween season. I would love to know. Might give me some ideas of some other movies I want to check out. And if you're enjoying this video, give a like. That might be cool. The Doctor and the Devils. Oh man, I'm really excited to watch this movie. I don't know why it's taken me so long to see it. Let's see. This is a horror thriller. It stars Timothy Dalton. This is one of those classic stories of a doctor who doesn't have enough dead bodies to work with to learn. So he ends up paying somebody to grave rob or possibly kill people to bring him dead bodies. I believe that's what it is. It's a classic story. I don't remember exactly what the story is called. Somebody in the comments down below can remind me. But it's got a great cast. It's got like Timothy Dalton and Jonathan Pryce and Patrick Stewart, it looks like. But what's really cool about this is it's a 1980s Gothic horror period piece film. And that's just a cool thing because I feel like there weren't a lot of period piece Gothic horror in the 80s. That kind of went out after being really popular in the 60s and 70s. So that will be very cool to see. The Doctor and the Devils. Then I've got some box sets here. Vincent Price Collection Volume 3. So I have all of the Vincent Price collections that Scream Factory put out, but Volume 3 is the one that I haven't really dug through yet. Now, I've watched Cry of the Banshee, which I talked about on the channel recently, and I love that movie. It's great. But then there's also An Evening with Edgar Allan Poe, which is actually Vincent Price just sitting, reciting Edgar Allan Poe stories, which sounds like a cool thing. I don't know why I actually haven't sat through that yet. And then Diary of a Madman, Tower of London, and Master of the World. I'm such a Vincent Price fan. I don't know why I haven't dug through this set further. So this has got to be the season. Every Halloween, you know, I gotta have some classic horror films to watch that I've never seen before. So this will be a great resource for that. And then speaking of classic horror films I've never seen, here's the Universal Horror Collection Volume 2. They put out 6 or 7 of these, Scream Factory did, and I only have like 3 of them. But this is one where I've only watched a couple of them. I watched The Mad Ghoul, which was okay, and Murders in the Zoo, which I actually really enjoyed. But I do need to check out The Strange Case of Dr. X and The Mad Doctor of Market Street. Now, these Scream Factory Universal Horror Collections, they're really hit or miss. There's some good gems in there, but there's a lot of drudgery to be found. Not a lot of quality control, I feel like, with these, which is okay, because I'm just glad they're preserving these really old horror films. But yeah, 2 movies on here I've never seen. Those will be goods for some like weekend October mornings. That's a time when I just love to put on like a 30s or 40s horror film I've never seen. And the last Scream Factory collection I've got here is the Larry Fessenden collection. Larry Fessenden is an indie director and actor. Just works in a ton of independent horror films. Like, even if you don't know his name, you've probably seen him if you watched any indie horror films. And I really like him, and I watched 2 of the movies on here already. I saw Habit, which is his most popular, well-known movie. It's a vampire movie, which I thought was pretty good. But then Wendigo on here is a great folk horror, snowy set horror film that I thought was fantastic. So I love that. But 2 movies on here I've never seen, which are No Telling and The Last Winter. I'm particularly interested in The Last Winter. It's, you know, a very wintry set horror film. I think it might even take place at one of the Arctic poles. That's up for the Scream Factories. Next up, the Inner Sanctum Mysteries Collection. I talked about a couple of these movies on my recent August wrap-up video, and threw out there if people wanted to see a whole video on this set, and I got a lot of comments that yes, people want that. Thank you for letting me know. So just letting you know, there will be a video on this entire collection of Inner Sanctum mystery films from the 1940s. And once I get a chance to get through all the movies. So we'll get to that very soon. Vinegar Syndrome. Now for Vinegar Syndrome, we've got Madman, which is a classic 80s slasher film that somehow I have just never seen. So I'm really excited to check this out. It's, a lot of people seem to really enjoy this. It's like a camp slasher, I think. Maybe it's just people camping. Might be a little bit more of a summertime movie. I don't know, but I love slashers. I would love to have a slasher film I've never seen to watch during the Halloween season. And this is going to be the one for me. And then we've got Grave Robbers. So this is part of a trilogy of films that Vinegar Syndrome put out. All films directed by, what is that guy's name? Ruben Galando Jr. They are crazy Mexican horror films. The other two are Cemetery of Terror and Don't Panic. I own those and I really enjoy both of them. But this is the one that I haven't seen yet, Grave Robbers. Got some crazy looking stuff there on the back. I'm looking forward to it. And then, okay, this I just picked up in a pawn shop. I did a recent vlog where I went pawn shopping and I bought this one. It's Red Riding Hood, and since I bought this, I looked into it, and apparently, yes, it is a werewolf movie, and I saw some short little clips online just kind of showing me some visuals from the movie, and it looks beautiful from a cinematography and set design and costume design from that perspective. It looks incredible, so I remember this movie not being received very well, so maybe it's bad, but it's a fairy tale werewolf movie that visually looks pretty amazing, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to check this out pretty soon, I think. A couple Blu-rays from Mill Creek here. We've got When a Stranger Calls, classic 70s horror film, and I've never seen it. So looking forward to that one for sure. And I've owned this for a really long time. It's still got the $4.99 sticker on it when I found it at a Menards. This is a double feature of two Joan Crawford horror films. The one I really want to watch, I might get to Berserk. Let me know if I should watch Berserk. But I really want to watch Straight Jacket because it's a William Castle movie. And I love William Castle. I'm such a fan. He was a writer and director and producer back in the 1950s, predominantly the 1950s, other decades as well, who made gimmicky horror films like House on Haunted Hill and The Tingler. I love him. I've actually got a box set of some of his movies right there. It's one of my favorite box sets. And yeah, I'm going to have to watch Straight Jacket to watch more William Castle movies. I don't know why I haven't watched this yet. I've owned it for a long time, and it seems so up my alley. Eye of the Devil. It's a 1960s British horror film. It's got Deborah Kerr, David Niven, Donald Pleasance. It also has Sharon Tate. Rest in peace, Sharon Tate. And black and white horror film, the satanic stuff, maybe some witchcraft. Sounds awesome. I have no idea why I haven't seen it. This is the Warner Archive Blu-ray, so this is going in the player very soon for sure. Vestron, got a Vestron right here of Dementia 13. This is Francis Ford Coppola's first movie. It's only like an hour long, I think. This is his director's cut. And I think the reason I still haven't watched this is I have absolutely no idea what it's about. You know what? Let's find out. Let me finally find out what the hell Dementia 13 is about. Okay, let's see. It says it's a Gothic horror film. Twisted mysteries of a family's deepest, darkest secrets. Holy cow. A widow deceives her late husband's mother and brothers into thinking he's still alive. A widow deceives, the husband is still alive. Okay. When she attends the memorial to his drowned sister, hoping to secure an inheritance, but her cunning is no match for the demented axe-wielding thing roaming the grounds of the family's estate. Okay. This sounds pretty bonkers, actually. Yeah. Okay. I'm a little bit more motivated to see this, so I'll check this out. Axe-wielding thing out on the grounds of the Irish estate. Sounds cool. All right. Next we've got, I have no idea why I haven't watched this yet, because I've owned this Blu-ray forever as well. The Oblong Box. This is the Kino Lorber Blu-ray. This is supposedly an Edgar Allan Poe adaptation, although sometimes during this period they were kind of cavalier with what technically was an Edgar Allan Poe adaptation, so I'm not sure. But it's Vincent Price and Christopher Lee. Like, 1969? Like prime time for this kind of movie. Why haven't I watched this? I have no idea. I'm going to check this out very soon. And then Burnt Offerings. I just bought this in the recent Kino Lorber sale. It's a 70s haunted house movie. Always wanted to see it, never had. I will be watching this, but this season I will not be watching it on this Blu-ray, because after I bought the Blu-ray, I found out it's going to be shown at the Music Box of Horrors, which is a 24-hour horror film festival in Chicago, Illinois. I'm actually going to be there. A good friend of mine lives in Chicago. I'm going to go visit him. We're going to go see that. Going to meet up with some other friends, and probably going to make a vlog video out of it, so look forward to that. But I will be seeing this on the big screen. Last movies I want to talk about before I move on to books is just today, I watched a video from a YouTuber called What a Ghoul Wants. She's a woman named Anna. She runs a YouTube channel talking about horror movies. It's a great channel. I highly recommend checking it out, What a Ghoul Wants. But she put out a video on movies of her favorite horror aesthetic. And her favorite horror aesthetic happens to be dark, twisted, dreamlike, fairy tale horror films. And when I saw that in the video, I was like, oh my gosh, that's like exactly what I've been in the mood for lately. If you've been watching my videos recently, talking about Company of Wolves, talking about Sleepy Hollow, like that's really been what I've been most in the mood for. And she recommended all these super obscure movies, at least they seem very obscure to me, that I'm so excited to check out that I did not know existed. So a lot of those I want to check out. The number one film that caught my eye was a film called Valerie and Her Week of Wonders, which is apparently a Czechoslovakian horror film, very fairy tale-like with vampires and such. I looked it up and found that it has a Criterion release. I was really surprised. There's like this folk horror vampire 70s horror film that on the Criterion collection, and I've never heard of it. Anyway, I ordered that today, so that Criterion Blu-ray is on the way. Really excited to check that out. She also recommended Daughters of Darkness, which I have heard of and just never watched it, but she made it sound great, so I'll definitely check that out. The Blood Spattered Bride and Lamora, what is it called? Lamora, A Child's Tale of the Supernatural. They all sound really cool. I will be checking all of these movies out. Highly recommend to check that video out from What a Ghoul Wants. I got it linked down below in the description, so definitely check that out. So now let's move on to books. Got a bunch of books right down here. Okay, so this one I'm currently reading, and this is from the library. I get a lot of books from the library because I already have like a Blu-ray collecting addiction. I don't also need a book collecting addiction, especially since I don't reread books anyway. So I mostly get books from the library. This is Dracul. This is the official prequel to Bram Stoker's Dracula. In fact, it is co-written by, I think his great-great-great-nephew. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. Dacre Stoker. Anyway, him and J.D. Barker wrote this prequel to Dracula. Bram Stoker is actually the main character in it. And it is awesome. It's so good. I'm about that, like 350 pages in, about that. It is a phenomenal book. Very scary. I love when vampires are treated so frighteningly, but also so mythologically, like they can truly be anything. They're like, I don't know, like vengeance ghosts that drink blood. Vampires are awesome in this book. Like they're so cool. I love this book. So I'll be finishing that up very soon. Then I picked this up not knowing very much about it, but it was recommended by a booktuber that I follow. These Fleeting Shadows. Apparently it's a YA book. I didn't know that when I got it, but that's what it says. But it looks like it'll be a fairly short, easy read. But it's like inheriting a giant mansion, and maybe it's haunted, or maybe there's murders or something like that. It sounds fun. It sounds like it's going to be an easy read after the very big, thick book that we got right here. And then I wanted to read a classic. And I thought, well, what are like the big horror classics I haven't read? I've read Dracula, Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, like what else? So I got The Haunting of Hill House from Shirley Jackson. Really beat up copy right here, but hey, it's readable. I've actually never read this book, even though I've seen many different adaptations of this classic Haunting of Hill House story. So looking forward to finally reading Shirley Jackson's book. I had no idea it was so short, so that should actually be a pretty easy read as well. That should go by quick. Here's a couple of books that I own. I've been getting through this very slowly over the past year. I got this about a year ago while I was in Pennsylvania. We were in this really quaint town in the Pocono Mountains and found this really cool local bookstore. And I picked this up just based on the cover. It's an anthology of folk horror stories. And you guys know I love folk horror. One thing I didn't know about it when I bought it is I guess it's YA because every story is about a teenager. And I didn't know that that was what I was in for. You know, like, I don't know, when it's folk horror, like give me a story about a farmer, give me a story about a local pastor who deals with possessed things. I don't know. Just a different thing. It's all about teenagers, which is fine. That's okay. And there's some good stories in here. I think I've read about half of them, and I'll probably be continuing this during the season. I mean, the cover is really, really cool. The Gathering Dark, by the way, that's what it's called. And then I might read this. I'm not committing to it. Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes. This is a classic autumnal horror book. It is a huge, a good friend of mine is a huge fan of this, has recommended it so highly to me. I started it last Halloween season and I got really bored with it. I admit it, but, I might give it another chance, go back to it. You can actually see that, yeah, I still got a bookmark in here, but I gave up on it last year, but this might be the year. So this turned out to be kind of a longer video than I thought, but those are the movies and the books that I am planning to watch and read this Halloween season. If you haven't yet, let me down below, what are the movies that you were most excited to watch this particular Halloween season? And if you've got any books that you're planning to read, would love to hear about those as well. Let me know down in the comments below. Give a like if you enjoy this and a subscribe for more videos like this. I just put out a video earlier this week on autumnal movies to check out to really feel those good fall vibes. So if you want to feel those vibes, check that video out on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. With all that said, don't forget to enjoy yourself today, have some fun, and I'll see you next time.